Number 15, transition to the standards. By now, with sheer repetition, you have probably internalized the definition of critical thinking. Critical thinking is thinking about your thinking to make it better and adopting traits that make it possible. We have carefully examined and defined the thinking about your thinking part, that set of concepts that explains what thinking, what reasoning, what figuring something out actually consists of. Those 8 elements of reasoning are universal, which means they are always present when you reason. To prove that to you, to show you the validity of that claim, we have explored what it means to reasoning if you remove an element, or if you could not perform that element. In every case, the elements have proven themselves absolutely indispensable to reasoning itself. Now, the elements of reasoning are one of the 3 legs of the conceptual barstool that holds up this definition of critical thinking. We will explore the second leg next. This leg makes up the make it better part of our definition of critical thinking. There's a reason to analyze thinking itself, which consists of those elements we've just covered. And that reason is to improve upon it, to make it better, to question it, to ensure its soundness. It is a layer of criticality that you add after you have reflected upon and analyzed a body of reasoning. That layer consists of the universal standards or universal criteria of reasoning. Now, there are many standards we might apply to our thinking, but this particular set of 9 standards is universal, or nearly so. The universal standards of reasoning are, number 1, clarity, 2, accuracy, 3, precision, 4, relevance, 5, significance, 6, depth, 7, breadth, 8, logic, and finally 9, fairness. Now, just like the elements, I use a memory trick that helps me to easily recall the universal standards of reasoning. That trick is the sentence, "Capers are double in science fiction." Now, it's capital letters that I see in my mind when I say this that reminds me of the intellectual standards. And what I'm seeing in my mind is capers, CAPRS, abbreviated that way, are double, DBL, in science fiction. And the fiction part, the F, simply reminds me of fairness. Silly, yes, I know, but for me it's memorable because I like science fiction. Now, you would probably do better with creating like a memory trick of your own, or you might find this one reasonably helpful to you. Now, like I said, there are many standards we could apply to reasoning besides these, but these are universal because without these particular standards, it makes little sense to call the reasoning we are doing, the analyzing we're doing, sound. They're minimal in that sense, because we must achieve them to some degree in order to have a body of reasoning that is of any use to us. In the following presentations, we will examine each one, why it is a universal standard, how the opposite obscures good reasoning or good thinking, and like the elements of reasoning, sophists purposefully distort or obscure these universal standards of reasoning in order to trick and manipulate others with their counterfeit reasoning. Remember, to think critically, you must be intimately familiar with and comfortable with the universal standards of reasoning. They must be internalized. You must know them. To be merely familiar with the concepts is not enough. You must be capable of CI. You must be able to clearly state what they are, expound upon them, and exemplify or illustrate them. It is the only way to achieve an impenetrable armor against the sophist. In the next presentation, the 16th out of 34, I will explore the standard of clarity.